Is Liam Neeson going to get his own Disney Plus show? Are we going to get more Qui-Gon content? It's time for the Dyad to react. So, we've been looking at these articles recently, and these things have been popping up with Luke Skywalker getting his own show, and now the most recent one being that Liam Neeson is reportedly getting his own show. And of course, with a grain of salt. There is no confirmation from Disney Plus or Lucasfilm or Disney for that matter. It is hugely speculative. It's one of those articles that's like sources close to
it's a friend of a friend. There's someone back there. But yeah, I mean, while we normally wouldn't talk about a subject this speculative, the exception is when it's positive news. I don't like to dig around in the weeds to find negative news to condemn people, to hate on Star Wars, but something like this gets me excited, especially since I reread Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray recently, and I need more. I just need more. which is like the natural train of thought when you think of a Qui-Gon show that they could do, right? You immediately go to that book, and there's a couple of like quandaries that need to be solved. First of all, it has been quite a long time since Liam Neeson has done a movie from Star Wars or just played Qui-Gon in general. But we do
20 years?
Well, so he did reprise his role in the Clone Wars, right?
Right.
So in the Mortis arc, that is Liam Neeson, not a different voice actor mimicking Liam Neeson. And we know he's a huge Star Wars fan. Like, he was excited. He asked them to come back for Mortis. So that portion wouldn't be wildly out of hand, but he probably looks significantly older. But I don't know, Hollywood magic. If you've seen Captain Marvel, and if you know how Samuel Jackson looks now versus how he looked in that movie, Disney's got some type of sorcery up their sleeves,
They do. But that also adds more to the quandary, so to speak, because how they did Luke in the Mandalorian finale, and some of the controversy around how he looked and how that was executed. Now, I myself, of course, didn't really have any qualms about it. That was Luke. Could they have done better? Of course. Could anything always do better? Yes, right? Nothing is perfect. But if we're thinking about the story that they would potentially do for Qui-Gon Jinn to come back to the universe, as we mentioned, Master and Apprentice, that means a lot of people would have to be de-aged.
Potentially.
We're dealing with a 17-year-old Obi-Wan, right? Is there a way they would de-age Ewan McGregor?
Sometimes she just wants to be part of the conversation.
Always welcome.
You know what though? It's Yoda doesn't have to be de-aged.
Of course.
But I mean, we got to figure out when this is going to be, because I would love to see young Qui-Gon. I would like to see him training with Rael Averross and like live action Rael. I want to see young Dooku, and watching Dooku's feelings on the Order kind of start going awry and start seeing those seeds. I want to see young Sifo Dyas, doing some stuff.
I mean, yeah, of course we can always venture into the earlier portions, but then that's even more. We're going deeper into the de-aging process. So if we're talking about like, how old is he? 12 years old at that time, when they're on Shipwreck.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with Liam Neeson at that point, right? And so like,
or this is my number 2 pitch. We take it from the Master and Apprentice short story.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson as a Force ghost, reconstitutes himself and just tells us Star Wars stories.
That's true. That's true.
It could be
That's
stories of him, but since he's part of the Cosmic Force, we could also see some weird. We can get weird with it.
We can. But then there's also that wrench where I think Liam Neeson said that he was up to appear in the Kenobi show, so we might even just get like an episode of that short story.
True. And if anything, I would bet money that if he does have an appearance, which it's rumored that he does, that would be used as a backdoor pilot. Like, seeing the response on that might be the tipping point with whether or not we actually get something full on.
Yeah, and I also think that the best choice for a Qui-Gon show would be Claudia Gray's Master and Apprentice full novel, because if anything, that helps the sequels, that helps bring or tie together all of these threads that people are missing, especially if they haven't read the book, because I think one of my favorite lines from the book is a prophecy, not the chosen one prophecy, but the one that says, when the righteous lose their light, the evil will return, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, hey, Luke has lost his light, Palpatine is set to return, or something like that. That's at least my interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good one. That's really not what I was initially thinking. I was thinking a lot more basic, but that actually makes a lot more sense. But I gotta ask you the question: a Qui-Gon show, is this the Star Wars that we need?
Is it the Star Wars that we need, or is it the Star Wars we deserve? I think.
Don't get me wrong. I will watch the hell out of this show if it happens.
Absolutely.
But is this, if you are coming up with the project, is this your front runner, or should they be focused on other things?
That's a great point. And I think you also additionally make a great point in mentioning earlier that this could be a backdoor pilot, the Kenobi show. So if there is interest in it, then of course, it's natural for them to go forward with it, because any Star Wars content is good Star Wars content to have. I don't necessarily think that it's something that we need, of course, but it's always something that we could have, especially if we're gonna do like younger Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and their mission at Satine, or even younger than that. But right now the report says that Liam Neeson is returning, right? So that means it's going to be either animated or a live action in which it covers a role that he can practically do with de-aging, which is Master and Apprentice. To me, that's the biggest or the best place in the story to go into with Liam Neeson. If we're dealing with all of their younger portions, then of course we're dealing with recasting and stuff. But of course, even with Master and Apprentice, there's a lot of young to find. Can Ewan McGregor play a de-aged Obi-Wan? I
don't know. I mean, you saw him with them guns, right?
Yeah, that's true. Obi bad hair. But I'm also thinking of like just younger Mace. Everyone I guess they can adapt the book in ways where not a lot of those scenes are filmed, but they would need the major players in the council with Qui-Gon. The crux of the story being Qui-Gon's decision and what and how that changes his relationship with Obi-Wan. Gosh, am I the only one that's thinking Nick Offerman can play Rael Alvaros?
As a voice actor, for sure, I could definitely see it.
I mean, of course he's like a tanner complexion, but like I don't know. I'm like his disposition, his idiosyncrasies. It just there's probably someone that could play him better, but I'm just like every time I read his lines, it's Nick Offerman's voice. He's just playing in my head.
Yeah. I mean, it was specifically with how it's read in the audiobook. I 1000% see that for sure. I'm trying to think of who I see. And I don't want to say it.
Chris Hemsworth?
No, my mind goes straight to Nicolas Cage.
Oh man.
I'm sorry.
But everyone wants him for Revan, right?
No, they want Keanu.
Oh,
Reeves
that's right.
for Revan.
Now I want Nicolas Cage as Revan. Oh man, but we already know Paxton Rahara. I think Claudia Gray said she had, some choices for that already. Gemma Chan and the British guy.
And by the way, I'm a big fan of Gemma Chan, so anything she's in, I'm in. She killed it in Raya, and Ryan, just watched that today, and so yeah, on board for sure.
Absolutely, and aren't you a particularly huge fan of Paxton Rahara, or Paxton Rahara?
Yeah, they were just such interesting characters. I mean, to have someone, Pax's backstory is just heartbreaking. I mean, Rahara's as well. Pax's family, like their ship was boarded by pirates and everyone was basically killed, but he was a little kid who was hiding, and so they leave, the ship is adrift, and he gets raised by the protocol droids that are on the ship.
3POs, nonetheless.
Yeah. And so like his entire life he's just only been talked to droids, so he has all these weird idiosyncrasies, and I don't know, he's just a fascinating character, and their relationship together was really cool.
Which is why I think Master and Apprentice is the nominee for doing a show with Liam Neeson. You can have, Liam Neeson and Obi-Wan, and Rael Averos, and the Jedi Council back again to kind of provide that context that's needed for people who are still kind of beating around the bush in terms of how the Jedi Order was fallible, not all the way at fault, but also with Paxton Rahara.
We get a little guess who's back.
Yeah. And
Yadimundi's back. Yeah.
Don't upset Starkiller. But of course, like I think if you had the choice, I think you would want Paxton Rahara to have their own show, just like Afra, right?
Yeah, I want them to have a book, and I'm sorry, I feel like some stories are just better told in a book.
Yeah.
For this project, and for some reason, animated never crossed my mind, like not once, not for a single second. But now that I'm thinking of it, I would love to find out I would love to hear the story of their first time in Mandalore. I want to see. I want to see them, him and James Arnold Taylor could come back as Obi-Wan and have their little adventure there. Qui-Gon's probably protecting the royalty while Obi-Wan's off saving Satine, and they have their own weird little stories and stuff. And like, because their relationship to me gives me Satine
and
Jace
Jace
vibes, where it's like the moment of opportunity type deal. We're in this crazy conflict, gotta do what you gotta do.
It's so funny
type of deal.
It's so funny that you name drop that, because I think when I was ruminating on who could play Satine, I think my first choice was Gemma Chan.
And it all comes full circle.
But in any case, let us know in the comment section down below what you would want to see from Disney Plus if you were given reign over what story you would like to see from Qui-Gon Jinn. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more. Turn on notifications so you know when we post new videos, and as always, may the Force be with you.